are doing this live with Max, Maxwell or Max, or do you like to be called? What do you like to be called, Max?
Either or's fine. Max is easy.
Max is easy. Hopefully, I became a friend just by calling, lowering the name there. But Max, the managing partner of OENO. OENO is the world's most awarded wine and whiskey investment company in the world, right? So, us, we are all about thinking creatively, thinking different, um, and being not your average about our finances. And really, as I was going through this and thinking about interviewers and this unconventional thinking, Max stood out to me as somebody who is doing things a little different. He's, as you'll hear, he's not from around these parts. He is from another place. But what I love about what he can do is what we do in our finances. He can help us expand and grow literally globally and impact people all around the world and make some money while doing it. So, Max, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what you do. I also know you do some coaching type stuff, but you're in the wine and whiskey business, which is amazing. I'm a big fan of wine and whiskey.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Brandon. Yeah. So what we do is we essentially help people to invest and earn a non-correlated great return, almost always double digits
Mhm.
when it's evened out over a long period of time. Mid to mid-teens and upwards sometimes as well, um, by using wine and whiskey as the core assets. And one really exciting thing about wine and whiskey is that they are the only assets that are consumable. So naturally, in the lifespan of the assets,
Yeah.
they become more scarce, and that is where a lot of the value is created.
Nice. So, how did you end up getting in this of all things? Like, you don't look like you're somebody that would be in the wine and whiskey business in the first place. How did you end up all of a sudden, getting into this industry? And how did you, I don't know, you found it? What did you do here?
Yeah, yeah. So I had an experience in Chicago once where I ordered an old fashioned. So most people know the old fashioned is a drink that's served with bourbon,
Mhm.
Maker's Mark bourbon. But I like to have it with Scotch. So I Scotch whiskey, and the bartender said to me, "Look, you can choose one of two whiskeys. You can choose Macallan 12 or Macallan 18." And um, when I was there, I was on holiday and I was visiting a friend. So I said, "Oh, Macallan 18, why not?" So I ordered it with a Macallan 18. And for those of you that don't know, Macallan is a Scotch whiskey maker, and the 12 and the 18 are the exact same. The only difference is that the 18 is 18 years old and the 12 is 12 years old. So 6 years difference, right? And um, in I started drinking the drink. It was fantastic. I shared it with my friend. Thought it was so yummy and smooth, and I thought, wow, I only want to drink 18 from now on. And and then I asked the bartender, so how much was this drink? And he said to me, 125. I said, no, no, no. I said, no, no, not all of our drinks. How much is this drink? And he said 125. I said, no, 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 not how much is the bottle. How much is this drink in my hand? And he said 125. And then I thought my friend started laughing at me. And then I thought, wow, okay, well, how much was 12? And he said 25. And I thought, holy shit, 500% difference in 3 years of aging. If you own a house for, sorry, in six years of aging, sorry.
Yeah.
If you own a house for 6 years, it's not going to go up by 500%.
Yeah.
So that's what sort of started to really open my mind to these type of assets and what they can do and that sort of thing. So I got into whiskey first, and then I found wine later. But how I found this company was I found them through through coming on as a client. You know,
Mm,
so I knew that there was a way to invest in wine. I didn't know any wine. I'm not a wine expert. And then I found this company and I thought, okay, great. You know, I get to shortcut all of that, trying to
yeah.
figure out on my own. And here I am.
That's, well, I don't know if I've ever bought a drink or anything like that, even a meal. I'm like, $125. I don't know about that. But again, seeing how, uh, things mature over time, the age, the what people will pay for, right? For me, maybe it's a little much. However, at some point, some people value those kind of things, and they had it at the bar, right? So apparently, they're making some margins there, uh, and just thinking the difference of values and all of those aspects, and using your creativity and knowledge to get into a space that is not ordinary. So
Mhm.
what switched you from, doing the standard thing to then saying, "Oh man, I want to do this." What kind of results have you seen since you've launched into this?
Yeah, so I used to be very standard. You know, I used to work in banking, worked in straight out of school, worked in banking for 5 years, corporate banking,
Hmm.
for the biggest bank in Australia. It's called the Commonwealth Bank. And um, yeah, by the end of it, I hated it. And I knew that if I went back into finance, you know, um, I wouldn't be sort of satisfied. Like it can't just be about, you know, the money and big deals and that sort of thing. There's got to be something that has a bit of flair, and you know, there's passion intertwined in there, and it's a bit interesting. So this fit perfectly, you know.
Yeah.
And it fits perfectly for a few reasons. You know, basically, it really aligns with my top three values. You know, my top three values. The first one's freedom. So that's what like investing represents. It
Hmm.
represents, you know, putting something away so that you have more option and more freedom later. You know, the goal is to retire earlier or whatever, right? So more freedom. The next one is experiences. So, you know, for example, I would never buy a Lamborghini. You know, I don't really want one. Wouldn't want to own one. Couldn't imagine what it's like just having to be careful about everywhere I drive. But I would love to experience having one for a month. You know, so I would rent one for a month and experience that.
Yeah.
So that's like experiences, and also, you know, wine and whiskey is all about experiences. It's about experiencing something at a table with your best friends, at a wedding, celebrating your birthday, Christmas, New Year's. You know that you're happy to be alive after COVID. The last one is relationships. You know, like I get to build really, really cool relationships, talking about something I'm passionate about with people who are also into the same thing. So those three things, plus the fact that it's different,
Yeah.
really gives me a lot of juice to want to go out there and share this.
I think that's where we just did a video that was about, you know, uh, retiring early, right? And
Hmm.
sometimes our systems are built to keep us kind of um, in kind of waiting until we're 60, waiting until something happens later,
Hmm.
and putting it into maybe the market or Wall Street or whatever it is. I'm trying to fix this here at the same time. Um, and I think that that's what I think about as far as I'm still younger, but like, how do I have this kind of retirement lifestyle now?
Hmm.
How do I have freedom? How do I have experiences and build those relationships and not be waiting until I'm 60 because I'm putting it into things that I don't have access or control in? And I like that you have non-correlated assets that you're able
Hmm.
to grow and have freedom and experiences and relationships in something
Hmm.
that is that you're knowledgeable about. And I think that that's a powerful thing where people are just giving away their money to somebody else to manage, and they're giving away their freedom, their experiences, and their relationships by that very choice. And you're
Mm,
saying, hey, because I made this choice and I took some control, it doesn't matter if it's alcohol or if it's real estate, right? You were able to have some cool experiences uh,
mhm,
and have some really awesome relationships because of it. Would you add anything to that?
mm. Yeah, I would say, another thing that I've sort of learned in business, because I had another company that I exited, is that if you're going to do anything, you gotta find a way to do things different.
Hmm.
Like, because if you're doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, then first of all, there's a lot of competition because you're doing the same thing everyone else is doing. And the second thing is that then you're not really innovating. It's impossible to get a different result if you're uh, just systematically following what other people are doing. So that's what I also like about this industry. It's new. We're at the forefront of bringing us to the market in the ways that we're bringing it. And I really believe that 10 years from now, everyone will have wine in their portfolio or whiskey or something very, very similar. And, we're going to be at the hockey stick, of that sort of adoption curve.
Well, and I would argue, like I'm in the life insurance and annuity space, and people say it's
Mm,
so new, it's not traditional, and blah blah blah. I'm like, it's probably one of the oldest financial vehicles out there. It's been around
yeah.
for you know thousands of years, annuities, and life insurance, and sometimes the conventional wisdom of the market isn't so
Mm.
conventional. And you had mentioned it's a new market, but yet for me, I'm like, how long have we been drinking alcohol and wine? Uh,
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, I was asked yesterday on another podcast, um, how can I introduce people into the wine sort of investment space? And I started with, we've been trading wine, investing in wine, storing it, using it as a form of value, like gold or coins or shells or whatever, since the Romans, in 24 BC. So it's the oldest traded commodity, and it's the oldest traded consumable commodity, right? So, but people, haven't seen it this way because it hasn't been evangelized or endorsed in this way. So I'm actually writing a book about wine investment, and then I'll write another one about whiskey investment, to basically help get all of this out there. So if you want to sort of get your hands on like a free review copy of that book, message me or send me an email or follow me, and I'll make sure you get one.
so I'm a big fan of thinking through these things. I don't know if you know this. I used to own a coffee shop. Coffee is the second most widely traded commodity in the world, and
Mm,
Americans the number one consumer. And I think it's one of the products and things that have revolutionized the world. Right, coffee is. Uh,
mm,
and just a product through the transatlantic slave trade, through just how it was taken from Africa and all of that, and just the history of coffee, right, is just amazing. And then I'm also correlate that to alcohol. There's a book that I love that was called God and Guinness, and it's about the um, origin story of the Guinness family. And what's interesting about Ireland is Ireland was literally saved um, because of the business acumen of the Guinness family and the Jamesons, right? and it was able to overcome the potato famine and all kinds of things. But he was thinking in a long range thinking. They had like a million-year lease and all kinds of things. That just is amazing. And just seeing how that business model started in the 1700s and it's
Mm.
still around today, and that is in beer, right? And everybody knows what Guinness is. Everybody knows what Jameson is, right? How do we build those kind of
Mm.
things now and not wait? Say, well, we missed the boat 17 in the 1700s, and you're saying, hey, there's like a uh, uh, renaissance, if you will, and
Mm.
we can create this, and who knows where it's going to lead. Does that make sense? Have you ever read that book? It's an amazing book.
No, no, I haven't. I haven't. No, it's really interesting to know.
It's a really, really big book just about the history of that family, and just like, wow, all right. So I learned a lot about alcohol because of that. So, um,
Great.
yeah. So with that, as you guys are listening, we are all about alternative investing. We are all about thinking creatively. This is again why I had Max on because wine and whiskey and even things that are in other countries. That we don't have to just all do crypto if that's even a good thing, right? Maybe there's
Mm.
other ways that are older and more seasoned that we can use. So I'd love to show the audience your website. Is it luxuryinvestments.com? Is that the?
Uh, no, there's a more up-to-date one. Let me give you
I'm going to do
um
a quick little screen share here.
great. I'll send you the link right now.
So
So I
again,
made a
guys,
really
if
nice.
you are
There we
listening,
go.
what I really want you to get is thinking about your finances. You can put it into things that'll still do maybe the same results that you want without putting it into what everyone else says you should do. And maybe they're wrong. I don't know. It's really like you want to think strategic about this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna do a little quick screen share. Hold on just a second. This is live.
Yeah, and whilst you're getting that up, Brandon, I'll just share. You know, let me share with you some numbers, right? So 28% of high net worth people have a personal wine collection, right? So they're either collecting wine or drinking it. So that's basically one in three of people that have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And from that, you know, they don't have 80% of their wealth in wine. You know, you wouldn't do that. So it's just about having a bit of think of it as like a cash sort of like term deposit.
Yeah.
So it sits there, it's locked up. It's not going to pay you rent or anything like that, but it's something that is traditionally known as like a safe haven to store cash, store wealth,
Yeah.
and preserve your capital.
Yeah. And I like this in correlation with like, life insurance, and then it's non-correlated assets that you're
Mm.
able to then grow your wealth and build a good foundation. And this is just as you were talking, it's building, and our podcast is about building foundational wealth. This is
Great.
could be you a cornerstone piece. I don't know. It's up to you to figure that out. But we just want to show that there's more than just what the mainstream media wants to tell you to do. There's other things out there. Go ahead and walk us through this website.
Yeah, so basically, it just shares a bit of a bit of stats. You know, like for example, the first line there is probably a little bit hard to digest for the first time.
Mhm.
But you know, for example, fine wine, there's an
Yeah.
index called Livex, and this index is has been tracked since about 2000, but then they've gone, prior to that to get some good numbers.
Mhm.
And in this index, it basically gives like a stock market for wine that's being traded, like the top 1,000 wines that have been traded. And since 1952, which is about 70 or so years ago, um, if you had invested a dollar in fine wine, or you had invested a dollar in the S&P 500 in America, um, fine wine would have beaten that by 400%.
Wow.
So
Could you say
yeah,
that
and
again?
and that yeah,
Say
so
that
fine wine would have beaten that by about 400%. And that's a quote from Forbes. Now, um, there's a very really really simple reason for that. Do you know how a stock
again.
market goes like up and down and up and down and up and down
Yep.
and up and down? And but it the trend is up, over a 10, 15, 20 year period.
Mhm.
So the thing about fine wine is that it can't be you can't fire sell fine wine. Like you can't press a button and say sell, 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 which
Yeah.
means that um, the price can't rapidly drop, which means that it doesn't have those really rapid dips. Like if it does dip, it dips slowly, and then when it goes up slowly. Like everything's really, really slow. So what that means is that it's really, really good for preserving capital. So its performance line, it's much, much, much smoother than stocks and shares and that sort of thing. So that's probably the main reason why it just doesn't lose as much. That's why it's able to gain a lot more over a long period.
So what I'm hearing is it's a volatility buffer to avoid like those things of volatility. The hard part when I've learned about, and I'm in the finance world, sequence of returns risks, those downs really affect us. The averages don't mean anything. It's about those small little increments over time. That's why I love, again, infinite banking policies, because it's not sexy, but it's slow incremental growth over time. And you could actually use your policies to do this too. Um, right. And so it's just thinking like the thinking like the tortoise versus the hare, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, um, yeah, I always have to think about this because it's a way of thinking. We love those big jumps, but we really like. Was it last year? I think it was -22 in the market, and I'm like, oh yeah, and people will say, well, it'll come back, it'll be fine. I'm like, I don't like losing any year. I don't like giving up a year of my life.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for saying that. You know, so I'm from Australia, and Australian shares have taken a hit, not as much as American shares in 2022. And I have friends who have their retirement money in shares, like because when you work for someone, it automatically just goes to a big company and it goes to a big retirement pension fund and that sort of thing. And my friends were asking me, "Oh, but what's the fees?" My pension fund has the lowest fees in the market, like $700 a year. Australia, that's like 500 US a year, right? It's pretty low. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but how much have you lost this year? you
Yeah,
know, and some of my friends have lost 10%. And one of them has 400,000 in her pension, and she's lost 15%. So that's $6,000. And I said, so you're not just basically paying $6,000 in lack of performance fees, or lack of expertise fees, but you've also missed out on a 10% gain this year. So you've actually lost 25%,
yep,
right? So I said, how? So you might have paid X amount in fees or whatever it
yep.
is, and then I said, um, how much is that costing you, right? So like, there's a bigger picture to how you can manage your finances, and you're really sort of helping people to learn that, Brandon, which is awesome.
Well, and I think again, we've been asleep at the wheel. We've been told buy Wall Street, buy other things. Just don't worry about it. Just give the money to me, and it'll all work out. And what you said, I think the insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? What we need to do is, and I'm not saying you guys, as you watch this, I'm not saying you go and you even do anything with wine and alcohol with this company. I'm saying do your due diligence and be a thinker, and you control your life. You uh, learn it and learn those things, whether it's alcohol, whether it's again real estate or whatever. But it's up to you guys, right? But really, it goes back to I think his three things: the freedom, the experiences, and the relationship. I've seen again with your friend that lost money. That's a losing of freedom, experiences, and relationship because
Yeah, huge. It's crazy.
and I'm like, that's not healthy, and we wonder why we're stressed out and all of that, and humans we're living longer, but our money is not lasting as long, and we need to really take a hard look and think through this stuff. So watching these videos, reach out to Max if you want to learn more about his company, and really just understand. Try to, and you're not gonna understand it thoroughly. That's why you have subject matter experts like him that's in this industry it's going to be his main jam, but like you have the experts that you can lean on. Anything you would add there?
Yeah, what I would say is that it's a fun thing to learn about as well. That's probably is one of the easiest things to digest about it. So it's a fun thing to learn about. But I'll share this link. I'll share my email. Any questions at all, send me an email, and we can go from there. And let me just dispel a myth in the fine wine investment world. Like, you don't need to invest, you know, $30,000 per bottle. So you can actually build a portfolio that's a mix of, $100 bottles, $150 bottles. So that gives you great exposure, great diversification, because if you're spending $30,000 per bottle, you are putting a lot of eggs in one basket, right? And there is a market for that, but it does start at about $100 a bottle. So send me an email, and I'll share with you some more details.
So I want to show you guys his website. I'm going to just put this here. It's IP, again, it's Australian link, I
Yeah,
believe.
LP.
LP dot OEN I'm sorry, OENOP group.com/AUS for Australia. So check that out. And then what is your email or phone number or whatever you want to give us? If you want to put that in the chat, and I'll put that here too.
Yeah, perfect. I'll put that in the chat.
Hey guys, we're doing this live. So, I just again wanted to show you guys this. So that way, again, as you are thinking through this, don't just stick with what, Jerome Powell or, your 401k person or what your employer says, right? Take and really question uh, everything. Maybe the conventional wisdom of today isn't so conventional, and maybe we need to go to some old school ways of thinking. Literally, old school, like beer and wine. It's been around for a while. Needs water, and so like think about that. And again, we want to be here for you, but you have to be the master here. So. Well, Max, thanks for joining us. Any closing thoughts you'd like to say or anything there?
No, the only other thing I would say is, like with everything, do your due diligence, and if you feel comfortable enough, start small,
Yeah.
right? Like for example, when I first started investing in stocks, um, I didn't put in, a lot of money, which would have been $10,000 at the time. I probably put in one or 2,000, and then sort of learned my way through it. Because there's also an element of learning by doing. You can only
Yeah.
read so much, and then you got to experience it to feel really comfortable. So do what you feel comfortable with, and work with a expert advisor that can help you on that journey. Like with anything, any investment.
Yeah. Well, and again, build your foundation. So that's why I like the savings is different than investing. Building that foundation is key. So that way you can take even bigger risks and learn the game, right? So it is a game. It's called the game of life. And you need to be in charge of that game for yourself. So thanks, Max, for being here. And you guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And of course, write a comment there. I love to hear your thoughts as we continue to share with you the not so average financial advice that we maybe should be thinking about.
Beautiful, awesome. Thanks, guys.